Hello, hello, hello. Let's give it a few seconds for people to join in.
Let me shut the window. Let's see if I can take away this bright glare. Quickly try. Let's see. No, it doesn't help. Leave it open. Leave it open. Leave it open. Yeah, I need the fresh air because I put off the fan.
All right, we've got someone in. We can just kick off now. Thank you so. Oh, got couple already. All right. So, hello everyone. Good evening. Thanks for joining with us on this part two on health, finance, and well-being series. Particularly on this topic of relationship. You asked for it, and we've brought it back to you. So here is part two of our resolving conflicts in relationship. I've got my special guest again, very super talented woman. She is a doctor and she is also a pastor. Her name is Dr. Tokunboh Odubanjo. She is a professional medical doctor specialized in histopathology and kidney pathology. She's a pastor at this Spartan church, and she's passionate about helping people build successful marriages. She's married with and blessed with two wonderful children. And last time we had her, she spoke about whether conflict in a relationship is a yes or a no. But today we are actually talking about resolving conflicts in relationships because we know that in relationships there's always going to be conflicts because conflict really is about when you have disagreements about some issues. And as human beings, as long as you live on this planet, as long as you interact with people, you will always have conflict in one form or the other. Conflict with your siblings, with your spouse, with your colleagues, with your friend, with someone you meet randomly on the streets, and all sorts. But specifically focusing on relationships, particularly in the marriage aspect. So with me today is Dr. Tokunboh. But before I bring her in, well, let her speak. I just want to introduce myself, just in case you're watching this for the very first time. My name is Fumi Ajayobe. I am the founder of the Exclusive You Nutrition and Lifestyle Improvement Program, a program which I run online to help people address their nutrition and weight loss issues using their own diet. Because as we know, there is no way you can resolve your weight issues and permanently sustain it when you're using methods that are unsustainable, like a one-off medication or whatever. I mean, they don't work. Trust me. If they do, then no one will have issues with weight. Everyone will just take that medication 3, 4 times daily, eat the specific food, and then they're done. But you need to learn how to use your own food because our diet is core to the weights we have. And so that's what I do. And I would love to help you if you need help in one form, shape, or the other. But today we're talking about well being because it's at the exclusive view, we want to look at the holistic part, the whole our nutrition, our well-being, our finance, our health, everything is a package. When one side is not great and the other is doing well, it impacts in other areas. If your well-being is not great, if you have relationship issues, it will impact on your weight. If you're having finance issues, it will impact on your weight and your health. And so that's why we are doing all this together. So anyway, it's 5 minutes on. I would like my guest to come on, Dr. Tokunboh Odubanjo. Thank you so much for yielding to our call the second time and joining us tonight. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So I will let her kick off. I would love you to kind of maybe recap on what we did last time, and then we'll start on the questions for today.
Last time we started to talk about conflicts, and we said a conflict is a serious disagreement. So you and your friend or your partner, your wife, your husband, you have different opinions And it's about an issue that is serious, an issue that matters to both of you. It's not she says tomato, I says tomato, which at the end of the day doesn't have any implications, doesn't have any consequences for either of you. It's something like, should our children go to boarding school? You went to day school, I went to day school, maybe your husband went to boarding school, and he believes that you would never be disciplined unless you go to a boarding school. So it's something that would impact on the future of your children. It matters to both of you. And neither of you is going to easily back down. That's what a conflict is. We also established last time that you shouldn't just kiss and make up and just sweep issues under the carpet. That's very important. What you want to do with conflict is that both of you want to sit down, trash the issues completely, discuss the issues until you finally reach an agreement. That's what you want to talk. So today, this is the thrust of our discussion. We're going to talk about how you resolve conflict. What are the skills you need to learn that can help you make the best of conflict? You know, make conflict something that binds you together as friends, as couples, and not tear you apart. This is what we're going to try to do today.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. And we all know that for that to be for that to be successful, there must be negotiation involved, because if you don't negotiate, then there's going to the conflict is not going to end. And so maybe I should just ask you to even define negotiation. What is negotiation? I mean, how do we negotiate when this happens?
So negotiation is basically defined as a discussion that is aimed at agreement. So it's both of you sitting down to have a talk, to have a difficult conversation, because you're both invested in reaching an agreement. And as I start to say that, the most important thing is that both of you have to be interested in agreeing. So sometimes one partner is not going to be willing to discuss. He's just not interested in having a discussion. He's avoiding the issue. You can't discuss, and you may not be able to reach an agreement because one of you doesn't want to discuss. So both of you invested in the process, you are willing to have that discussion. You need to ask yourself, they say that in marriage, we need to choose our battles with care and caution. There's certain things that at the end of the day, you tell yourself, why does this matter? It's not such a big deal. You just let it go. Because if you talk about everything, you'll become petty. You'll be tact the nagging woman. So you need to choose your battles with care. Is this something I want to talk about? Is this something I want to pursue? Is my partner going to work with me to reach an agreement? If your partner is not going to work with you, you're wasting your time. So it's all of those things you need to talk about as you start. Sometimes when you start a discussion and you feel the tempo of your partner, you want to just withdraw, because he that fights and runs away lives to fight another day. But he who is slain in battle can never rise to fight again. So if at the end of the day, you feel like you're winning the battle, but you're losing your partner, you end up alienating your partner, and your partner doesn't want to work with you to reach an agreement anymore. Then you've worked against yourself. So you need to think of all these things. You know, as you negotiate, you want to make sure that you're drawing your partner closer. Your partner is interested in the process, and that process helps you to actually reach an agreement. That's the main point.
So basically, you're telling me now kind of that one has to be emotionally intelligent to even decide that, okay, is this battle worth fighting? You don't fight every battle, because if you do, you sound petty. And that's true. Oh, you looked at me some certain way, you talked about it. Oh, so you should leave leeway for people to be like, you know what, let people be, let human being be human being. We're all human beings. We will always offend, we will always, have moments where things just doesn't work well. So you just pick important battles to fight, and know when to step in. No, don't just go in at the heat of it. You know when to really step in, because it might not be the right moment. So even though you're still feeling boiled, so are you saying to me that even though you're boiling, you're angry about that and I shouldn't really go into that, talk about it at that time?
There's a time for everything. Sometimes your discussion is right, but your time is wrong. And you will make a headway because your timing is wrong. So you really need to pick your battle, pick the time, pick the place. Sometimes if
Mm,
you raise an issue with your husband and his family is there, he may react differently to when just the two of you are there.
mm,
So all of those things, you have to be wise in choosing how you approach conflict.
mm, mm. Absolutely, because the environment will determine. I mean, and that's human being for you. Sometimes, I mean, you want to be the man, you want to impress, and you don't want this
Exactly.
woman suddenly to come up and like, you feel like what's happening? Oh my goodness, am I frozen? Anyway, I hope you can still hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So it's quite important to choose when, where, decide when to go into that negotiation. So how can I tell if I mean, if I know how to negotiate, you know?
So, negotiation is an art, and we all need to learn how to negotiate. I think the critical question you need to ask yourself, whether you have a deficit in this area, is am I often unreasonable? Or am I even always unreasonable? Or are there certain issues that I tend to be unreasonable
Hmm,
when I'm discussing?
hmm,
If you lost your dad early in life and your mother raised you all alone and she labored for you, you feel heavily indebted towards her.
hmm,
In every discussion where your wife is complaining about her, you may find yourself like you're just not going to be reasonable. So there are times when you're not being reasonable is even almost justifiable. We know why it is.
hmm,
Every discussion that concerns your mom, you just can't see clearly.
hmm,
But you need to have insight into that and take charge of that situation, because until you have insight, you can't fix it. And it's not your wife's problem to fix. That's an issue that you have to deal with. So are you reasonable? Are you unreasonable? We moved house, and finally my children had their separate rooms. They had been clamoring. They were early teenagers. They had been clamoring for being in separate rooms. One was a preteen, one was an early teenager, and they wanted their own rooms. And finally they got their own rooms. But it just so happened that my daughter, who is the younger child, didn't like to sleep in her room because she wasn't really used to sleeping alone. So every night she would go to visit him, they would gist into the night, and then she would sleep off in his room.
hmm,
He had a bunk bed, so she would sleep on the lower bunk. So one evening, a fight broke out, and it caught my attention. And when I went to try to mediate, my daughter said, "Well, every time I come to sleep in his room, I sleep on the lower bunk. That's my bed in his room. And tonight he says, oh, I want to see what it feels like to sleep on the lower bunk. Could you sleep on the top bunk while I sleep on the lower bunk?" And she's like, "No, but that's my bed in his room." And I said to her, "You can't have a bed in his room. The entire room belongs to him. Every bunk is his own.
hmm,
So he tells you where to sleep. Every day we meet adults who are obviously in the wrong and they're arguing.
hmm,
They're acting like the other person is cheating them. They're acting as if the other person is being unfair, but they are wrong.
hmm,
So if you're unreasonable, we can't discuss with you. It will be a challenge because you won't see clearly and you won't accept the other person's view, even if you are the wrong person. What we should focus on is doing what is best for the family. Who has the better angle? Let's go on with that better angle. But if it's always my way or the highway, and you would never see reason with the other person, it would be difficult to negotiate with you. So
hmm.
yes, that needs work, and you need to work on that. It's your problem to fix.
So you're saying one needs to actually look in the mirror sometimes, before you.
Self-awareness,
Hmm,
self-awareness. You need to, you know, evaluate yourself and say, do I have a challenge? Because
hmm,
if you have a challenge, your relationship will be struggling. It might be friendship. It might be your relationship with your siblings. It might be your relationship with your spouse. But it might be struggling because you never see the other person's view. Once
hmm,
somebody doesn't agree with you, we had a discussion on Facebook a few days ago. This person was just saying, compliment your wife. When your wife has made new hair, compliment your wife.
hmm,
Because it takes a lot of effort. We sit down for several hours braiding our hair, and other men compliment us. Then one person just landed on other men compliment us and said, how can a Christian be talking about other men? And I said, it's like going away from the discussion at hand and looking for how to attack the person. Basically trying to suggest that maybe she's looking to have an affair. And I said, no, it's people compliment us, but the spouse's validation is most important. So if everyone has complimented you and your husband or your wife hasn't said, this is lovely, it still feels like there's a deficit. That's what she's saying. That's what she's saying. But don't begin to attack her personality because she has a view that's different from yours. So if your partner has the problem, you want to help them. But if you have the problem, you want to fix it because it's not your partner's problem to fix.
So we should try to see each other's point of view, and we need to understand, because everybody is different. What you might like, the other person may not like it, and you may think it's a flimsy excuse. I mean, excuse me, about hair. Well, how important is that? For that woman, she loves her hair. She's taking her time to go have her hair done.
Exactly.
And then she wants to be appreciated. So you just have to, and it's something so simple that it does affect a lot of homes, just not
It does.
appreciating
It does.
the other party. So it's quite important to understand each other, see what that person, what is valuable to that person, and try to work in that line. So look at the benefit, look at how it benefits, the relationship. And yeah, so do I have to negotiate my views in a difficult situation? Because trust me, there are times when situations are very difficult, and it is important that I have to negotiate my views, or do I just have to let the other person's view go, or how do I even solve that problem? Because I still want them to get my views. So how do I negotiate, or do I even need to negotiate?
So I tell people, I say that if you see a couple who keep the communication lines open, they can weather every storm. If a couple can discuss any issue, so it's not about a lot of lovey-dovey, they hold hands, they're kissing every few minutes. What determines whether a marriage can work, a marriage can be successful in the long term, is how much you talk and how freely how much liberty there is in that relationship to actually communicate your differences. So I don't agree with him. Will I be afraid of even telling him because I don't want him to attack me? Or will it be a problem? So if you keep talking, there's a lot of headway that you can make. And you definitely should negotiate your part, because sometimes you have the better angle. What you are suggesting is better for the family. It's more useful for the family. If you give up on that, the family loses that angle. The family loses the opportunity to go with that better thought. So yes, you should. The 4 main skills for negotiation that is taught by the Harvard School of Law. They talk about framing, they talk about listening, they talk about empathy, they talk about effective assertion. Framing is, how do I even present this matter? So there was a certain woman, she found that her husband came home every day talking about, the burden of his work, I can't spend time with the children. And she said to herself, I'm raising a son. He needs a male figure. He needs a father figure in his life. I don't want him to end up with a deficiency. I need to encourage my husband to spend time with my child. She knows that her husband cares about education. This is what he cares the most about, the children's education. They're getting the grades, they're making headway with the education. And someone had told her that when you play football, it helps you with your eye-hand coordination, which is an important skill to learn. And football really trains you in these skills. And it translates into developing your IQ as well. So instead of just nagging her husband and saying, "You leave me to be the only one who talks to the children. I'm the only one who deals with the children. You're an absent father. You won't do your bit," and guilting him into doing it. She just told him that, "Oh, I just learned that if you play football with our son, it would help him with his eye-hand coordination, and that would help to develop his IQ, and then he can get good grades." So she tied what she wanted to something that he valued.
Hmm. That's a good skill to have.
So there's a way to present issues. Sometimes as you're talking, you're not even understood. Your partner doesn't get what it is you're going on and on and on about. He doesn't get what it is. And until he understands it and he understands why it matters to you, he can't commit to doing what you want. Then there's listening. Your partner, they said respect is ensuring that your partner doesn't feel dismissed. You convince your partner that their opinions count and they don't feel dismissed. They feel heard, they feel listened to. That's very important. As you are talking, they should feel that even if we don't agree, is he going to listen to what I have to say? We're not saying you must accept what the other person is saying. We're saying listen and consider it. Don't just straight away. Don't just, as soon as they start, you just cut in and say, no, 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 we're not doing that. Don't dismiss what they're saying. Then there's empathy. Your partner must feel that even in this discussion, he cares about me. He cares about me more than this discussion we're having. Then there's effective assertion. Effective assertion is learning the balance, the delicate balance between remaining firm and not coming across as if it's a do or die affair. Because sometimes you just act like, no, this is this way. And if we don't get this way, I'm even ready to walk out of this marriage. Your attitude is not what you say, but your attitude, you come across as if this is going to sink this ship. That doesn't help. So effective assertion is, yes, you are being firm, but at the same time, you are drawing your partner close. You are drawing your friend close. You are making it clear that this discussion is not as important as the friendship. If I had a choice between this discussion, winning this discussion and saving this friendship, I will save this friendship. There's an attitude that comes across that way, and that helps as you do this negotiation.
That's amazing. I like what you just said in terms of you don't go, and I think this is what where a lot of women have problem. You go nagging at the man because you're angry about that particular issue, and you're like, yeah, I
You
don't do this,
become
you're not doing that.
emotional. I
Yeah,
know.
emotional. And then you storm, and then the person is like, and of course the man too. Number one, if you don't time it right, is already maybe his stress is just come back from work, and then you give him that is fire for fire. Then secondly, the point is what you just said is rather than going with the problem itself, why don't you find how that problem will bring a solution to something else so that you
Exactly.
find the positiveness? It's just like having a boss and going, oh, I have problem A, B, and C. Hey, boss is like, excuse me, what kind of thing? Why don't you bring the solution? Like, this is the problem, but we can resolve it by doing this, this, and this. So you going to your partner, to your husband, rather than like, oh, you don't stay with the kids, you don't, just say, you know what, I'm really so tired at this moment, but I know that you are also tired too. It's hard and I understand, but it will help if, in fact, I was talking to somebody recently, was it last 3 weeks ago or so? So I said to her, I said, you know what, exactly what you just said. I said, don't go and nag this guy. This guy is already stressed. He's working 11 hours, whatever. He's not looking after the kids. I'm working too. I'm doing this. I understand. Just go in a good time when he's sane. He has enough. By the day he has his day off, when you know he's calm. And also when you now communicate, let him know how his help will help you fulfill your role as a mother and as a wife,
Exactly.
so that he will see
Exactly.
the positive side of you, of him helping you, so that he will understand. Don't let him just feel guilty. Oh, you're not doing this. Oh, da, 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 and it causes problem. And so the way we communicate in Yoruba, they say "Pẹ̀lẹ́ lákọ̀ọ́ làbò," meaning I like saying proverbs, but the way you communicate, there's a male and female tone to sorry. It's like sorry, or I am so sorry. Honestly, I
Exactly.
shouldn't see this way. I shouldn't have done this. I should have done that. And so yes, it's quite important to do. So how do I know when I should compromise in an argument? How do I know
So
when? So
The
much.
biggest question that you need to ask yourself is, why does this even matter to start with? I remember that my husband and I had one big issue with the towel. So he said to me one morning, he said, when you finish taking your bath, leave the towel in the bathroom, wear a house coat, and come into the bedroom with your house coat. And I thought to myself, the bathroom is ensuite, it's directly joined to the bedroom. No one is going to see me when I come out with my towel wrapped around my body. In my head, it sounded like a modesty issue. I told myself, he just wants me to be modest. He doesn't want me to expose myself. So he said it to me on several occasions, and I just wouldn't bother to do it. I just ignored him. I thought he was being unreasonable by even asking this. Then one morning in frustration, he says it to me again. And I said, well, but nobody sees me. He said, no. It's not about someone seeing you. It's because I want to use the towel. Remember, you said you want us to share everything and you want us to use the same towel. And I thought to myself, oh, I can't use a damn towel to wipe my body in the morning because I love anyone. So it seemed like a stupid request in the first place. What was I thinking? Why would I ask this man to share a towel with me? So for him, it was all about leave the towel behind so I can use it.
Oh.
I shouldn't want to take my bath, enter the bathroom, find the towel is not there, and have to go hunt for the towel
Oh.
before I can have my bath. But once I understood what the real issue was, it made sense to me. If you don't get it, you can't get on board. And I think this happens in many marriages where you feel your partner is being unreasonable. But if you listened, if you took time to listen, then you will understand what this is about. And once you see what the person wants, you understand why it matters to the person, then you quickly back down. You stop insisting, no. I'm not going to leave my towel behind, because now you get it. So yes, you should back down at that point and accept the other person's view. But if, as you talk about it, it's clear that the other person doesn't really have a cogent reason for wanting what they want, then the other person should also be reasonable enough to say, this doesn't have any value. Let's just forget it. So both of you have to be committed. It really takes two.
It takes two to tango. Thank you so much. I mean, I should have invited people. I know people are dropping in and out. Just to say welcome. Thank you so much if you're joining us for the first time, or if you're joining again, or if you're just joining in right now and listening. We're talking about resolving conflicts in relationships. And we would like you to ask questions, because it's quite important. Oh, I didn't even put the banners here. It's quite important to put your questions there so that we can answer your questions. My guests will be willing to answer your questions. So we will be answering questions at the end. And so, or maybe it depends. If it's something we can answer instantly, if it links with what we're talking about, we could do. But most of the questions we would like to ask at the end. And so if you're on Facebook, you need to allow StreamYard permission to let you, because we're live broadcasting using OBS, Open Broadcasting Service. And so you need permission so that we can actually read your comments and see it. Otherwise, we would not see it now. It will be later on when the show is closed. And we probably will still answer later, but you probably want the answers right now. So please write the questions there when you what questions you have. So yeah, it's quite important that in this conflict, so we will always have issues. We need to time it right. We need to understand each other's points of view. We need to see, and again, I suppose this is where communication comes in, because if you're not talking, if you're not asking questions, you wouldn't know. So how important is communication in this
It's everything. So there's something I like to talk about. I like to talk about unfaithfulness in marriage. Once you talk about an unfaithful partner, every single marriage person is going to think you're talking about cheating, an extramarital affair. But I have an all-encompassing definition. An unfaithfulness is you refusing to commit to a plan.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you how it works out. We sit down and we say, oh, I'm going away for a week. I have a course to attend in Abuja. We live in Lagos. I have a course to attend in Abuja. I want to bring my mom to come and help you with the children. Husband is at home, wife is traveling. Can I bring my mom to help with the children? And the husband says, oh, that's fine. I'm in support. And then right after you leave, he goes and he brings his own mom.
Hmm.
Because in his mind, why should it be your mom?
Hmm.
Why not his own mom instead? And if you ask him, 9 out of 10 men would say, oh, I didn't want to fight. The reason I didn't challenge what she suggested was for the sake of peace.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, if you've agreed to a plan and you do something else, your partner would feel betrayed in some way.
Hmm.
And that peace that you're looking for, you will compromise that peace. So what you want to do, if you don't agree, if you'd rather bring your mom, if you feel it's her mom all the time, is to say, oh, why don't you let us bring my mom this time? And unless she's being unreasonable, she would agree or say, oh, this is the reason. If your mom comes, your mom has to bring her house help. She has to bring her driver. That's 3 people. That's more mouths to feed. And I'm gone for a whole 3 weeks. My mom would come alone. And my mom would clean the house. My mom would cook. So you both raise your reasons. You allow discussion. But if you don't discuss and you just say, oh, I want peace. I want peace. I don't want to disagree with her. And you turn your back and you do something else. Sometimes you say, I don't feel safe with this person. They're your husband's friends, but you don't feel safe with them. We don't know why we don't trust people we don't feel safe with. It's intuition at the end of the day. Sometimes you meet someone the first time, they haven't wronged you, they haven't done anything wrong, but an alarm just goes off in your spirit. So you tell your husband, oh, that's fine. You can go and attend the event, but don't take my children with you. And instead of him to say, oh, do you have a reason? Because if I don't take the children with me, it means I have to drive all the way back to drop them at home and then go to this place. He just leaves it alone. He tells himself, for the sake of peace, I don't want to argue with her. But he then goes on and he does the opposite of what you agreed to do. That's unfaithfulness. That's unfaithfulness. That's you being disloyal. That's you not being able to commit to a plan. And that's not fair. At the end of the day, it undermines the unity in a relationship. And a lot of people don't know it. A lot of people just say, oh, I just want peace. That's why I didn't say anything. But at the end of the day, it would drive you apart. It won't bring you together as a couple. And you need to watch out for that. If you don't agree, just tell your partner and say, oh, this is what I would prefer. And then don't just say, this is what I want. Give reasons. This is how to discuss your view. Not accept it because I say so, because I'm the man of the house. Or accept it because it's my turn to be right now. After all, we're always following your view. No, it's what are your good reasons? Why is this better than the other person's view? And then talk about it and agree to a plan. And then go forward with that plan with both of you feeling committed to the plan you agreed on.
That's amazing, because what you're saying is that, you have to stick when you agree on something. Don't go and change it, because you're a couple, you're one unit. You've come together to decide on something. And if you feel that for some reason you need to change it, communicate and let the person know the reason. And of course, the reason has to make sense. Don't just change it for changing sake, either because I'm the one man or the woman, because I have the whatever. There's a genuine reason. I think this is the way we planned it. Why not look at it this way because of A, B, and C? What do you say? Communication. And I like what you said as well about, be reasonable. Because sometimes some people just think, oh, it's because it's me or it's my side or because in relationship, everybody has different background. It might be that maybe the husband's family are the ones that are well to do and the wives are well to do. And you, as seeing it as a wife, you're thinking, he's always bringing his family, or he's always in. No, what if it was the other way around too? He would also understand. If he needs his younger brother to come and live with you and you need to support him, or he needs his in-laws, or for whatever reason, of course, he would not. We don't expect him to be unreasonable in so doing, because he should still respect you as a wife.
Exactly.
But if you think that that's
you
what's
are the
needed,
wife.
you as the wife should also support that move. Like, okay, we know that your brother needs this. Oh, why don't we do this? You should be willing. Oh, in-law. Sorry? Oh, you just froze just now. Or is it me?
I can still hear you.
So we shouldn't just say, because some people, they'll be like, oh, I don't even want a mother-in-law. I don't want this. I mean, oh, okay. So some people will be like, oh, yeah, I don't want mother-in-law. And I'm like, excuse me, you will be a mother-in-law someday.
Exactly.
You should be understand. A lot of the issues I find in terms of maybe mother-in-law or whatever, it's not necessarily that a woman is bad or she's a witch. It's just that she's from a different generation, or she's brought up differently. She's from a different background, environment, totally different from yours. So your stuff might not align with hers. So you as a woman should come to understand that we're not the same background, but just try to meet her halfway, understand that, well, this is who she is. She's not doing it because she hates you. Why would she hate her son's wife? For what? What benefits? Because when her son is unhappy, it affects her. Similarly, the same other way too. If it's the wife too, it should really. So I feel like women should be reasonable, and men too. I'm just giving this example in this instance. There's example for men too. To try to understand the situation. Everybody is different. Like you clearly explained it now. Understand the thing. Let's put the cards there. Let's see how is this going to benefit us as a family? What should we do? How should we do this? And if the other way around as well, the man too should understand that, don't say, all the family of my wife, they are the one eating up all my money. It just happens that they are the ones that are less privileged. You need to support as the man, whatever. Help your family, because when you cover your family, your wife, you're covering her family. When you cover her family, you're covering your wife too. So it's a matter of, sorry, I'll let you. I took that from you.
Yes, and it's a matter of compromise. I've seen that exact situation where the wife said, well, he wants to bring his younger ones to come and live with us. Let's just do it the same way for both families. But you come from a well-to-do family, and your younger ones don't need to come. Your younger ones don't need support. But he's the first child, and there are 5 younger ones, and he needs to support them. So you can't have the same rules for either side of the family, because both sides do not need the same things. So is you being unreasonable if you say because we don't have to give money to my siblings, then we shouldn't give money to his own siblings, because your own siblings don't need it, but his own siblings need that support. They would not be able to make a headway in life unless they have this support, because they don't have options at all.
Wow, that's really amazing. So getting back to this issue of relationship, what happens if I'm always the first to back down in every disagreement in a relationship? Does that make me feel like, no, I mean, don't I have to be the one even as a woman, or should it be the man, or how does it work? Because it's good to know.
I think if you get to be the one who backs down every time, one of the things that can happen is that you can begin to feel like you don't have a voice in that relationship. It might even just be friends. But if every time is always when we want to go out, I say, oh, let's go to this kind of restaurant. She's like, no, let's go and watch a movie. And because she has a strong personality, we always end up just going with what she wants. You may end up feeling like you've lost your voice in that friendship. It may lead you to become tired of that friendship. It may lead you even to become angry and bitter. I tell people, if you have mother-in-law issues, you need to deal with them. Because what's going to happen is that if you don't deal with them and you bottle them up, one day your mother-in-law will do something very tiny. But your bottle is full of past hurts. So it just adds on top of what's already there. Then you pop your cork and you begin to talk and you misbehave, how you respond is not in any way in proportion to what she has done. And anyone who is watching will say, oh, this lady is really extreme. What it is because you've not been dealing with issues. If it's your mom, you would say, mommy, this thing, I'm not happy. Mommy, you didn't do this. Mommy, you didn't do that. That's why your relationship with her is strong, because you keep broaching these issues. But if you feel this person will not let you talk, it's not good for a relationship. A friend of mine had an issue with her in-laws, and her in-laws were wrong. And the husband, as a good husband should have done, decided to have her back and said, I'm cutting them off. There's a mom, there are 3 sisters. I don't want them in my life anymore because they keep harassing my wife and they are disrupting the peace in my home. And as we talked about this issue, I said to her, I know you, I don't know the other side. So I have no reason to be biased in favor of your in-laws. But let me be straightforward with you. If your husband cuts off his family, 10 years from today, it may be the reason why your marriage doesn't work anymore. Because he looks back and he has a lot of regret because he cut off his family because of you. Because he's fighting them because of you. You're the one who will breach that gap. You're the one who will go and meet his mom and kneel down and say, Mommy, Mama, da long way. And make peace with them. Because yes, he's making a sacrifice as a good husband, but that sacrifice is too weighty. He backs down, he accepts your view, he accepts that his family has wronged you, he supports you, but the price he pays by cutting off all of his siblings and his mother is way too big. And 10 years from today, the regret and the bitterness may be the reason why his relationship with you doesn't work anymore. I meet people all the time who say things like, I had this job offer, I was going to take it. My wife put her feet down and said, no, you can't take it. 20 years on, he's still talking about the same thing, but you've had so many opportunities since then. He was happy to let it go because he loved his wife at that point. But when he looks back 20 years later and he sees how that one decision really set him back, he's bitter towards his wife. And I think when you make the decision about whether to back down or not to back down, always think of the future. Always ask yourself. They say we should ask ourselves, if you are fighting about something now, ask yourself, 5 years from today, will this matter? If 5 years from today would be of no value at all, you probably should just drop it and move on. But a lot of the times when we want to back down, I love my wife. This is what my wife wants. My wife wants us to live abroad. That happens a lot also. This is a scenario that happens a lot. My wife wants to live abroad. All the women, we all like to live abroad. So the wife puts her feet down. We must move to America. And as you're moving, I have a family now where the in-laws and the wife were best friends for many years. All of a sudden, my friend tells me, oh, my brother's wife doesn't talk to my parents anymore because when they were moving abroad, my parents advised them not to do it because he worked in a bank. So what kind of job would you get in England that would pay you what you earn now? It was a top bank executive. If you go and you try to work in a bank in England, they will make you a teller. They won't put you in any delicate areas. They will make you a teller and it won't pay anything. There's no job that you can find in your field of finance that will pay you what you earn now. You know, when they got abroad and they were struggling, they said it was because the parents-in-law jinxed them. So, you know, yes, he's followed the wife. The wife wants to move abroad. He's followed the wife. But 20 years from today, you may be sworn enemies because you feel, but I told her, I tried to convince her to stay. She insisted because you're still struggling. You can't feed, you can't pay rent, you can't heat your house, you're struggling with everything. And now you're blaming your partner, but you're the one who agreed to step down. So that, even though you were perfectly happy to do it at that point, 20 years ago, is when you should have said, maybe I shouldn't step down. I love you, but this is my view. I think I have the better angle. It's better for the family. Let's weigh these things. Let's keep talking until we reach an agreement. But I'm not just going to back down easily, because 20 years on, we may still be discussing this issue. And regret is a bitter pill to swallow.
Do you not think it's good for one to take ownership of decisions when you take? Sometimes in life we take hard decisions, don't you think? And when we take those decisions, should we not just stick to it? Well, I have taken this decision. It is, rather than regrets. Or should we? Or is it what you're saying is that at the time, don't say yes to things just because you want to satisfy that person. You must be fully convinced. And if you're fully convicted or convinced about that decision, stick by it. I made the decision. I'm happy. Whatever consequences, don't then blame me later. So before you go ahead, make sure you're fully convinced, but fully happy, and you stick to it. Because however way, I mean, in life we make decisions, tough decisions. Sometimes things don't work. Hey, tough. We just have to accept it.
I know. And no one has a way of telling if it would work or not. There was a time when we were having challenges with keeping ourselves. We will get a house help. We would have some challenge or the other. Then one day I said to my husband, I'm very tired. I'm fatigued. You're not helping around the house. I need you to help. And my husband said, in the first place, I didn't want a house help. You told me you were stressed out. I agreed for us to have a house help. But you keep chasing them away. And if you chase the house help away, you have to do the house help's work. That's not my own business. And then a few weeks later, we were sitting down with a couple, and the man was telling us about how these house helps are a real problem. They're necessary evil. This year alone, my wife has had 6. And I said to my husband when we got home, I said, did you hear how that guy expressed the same problem? His wife has had 6 house helps in a year. But instead of pointing fingers at his wife and saying she has a problem, he's not supporting her. He's just being supportive. It's one house help that has lasted for a year, but I'm complaining about her a lot. I'm itching to send her away. And you're saying if you send her away, you will do her work. And if she goes away, you leave me to do the work because you tell me that I'm the one who sent the house help away. There's just, as you said, once we've discussed an issue extensively, no one has any way of telling if it would work or not. Life is spelled risk. We're going to take risk in life. And if we take a risk, it doesn't pan out, we should remain supportive of each other. I just lost you. It looks like your network is acting up, and
I'm really sorry, not sure what happened. I think it's with the internet. It just disappeared.
Yes, I think your network.
So much. Yeah, it must be my network. Yeah, I'm not sure why that's so bad. I need to look at that for next time. But thank you so much. There was something I want to bring you back. You said this like a few minutes ago, but I was keeping it in my head because I think that's really important. You talked about that family where the man kind of stopped talking to his family because of the woman and the woman going back. And I think that is really, 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 I'm emphasizing it, important. Because some women will just say, hey, yeah, he supported me, and then do it. Like, no. I think you should still understand that, no matter how he sided you, they're still his family members, and everybody loves their family. It could be you, it could be you. And he's not happy that he kind of cut them off, but he just knew that they were not doing the right thing. And it's the right thing for you as a woman to go. I mean, I've had a situation whereby my husband has stood for me like before. And I actually go to my mother-in-law, I'm like, don't mind it, I mediate. In fact,
this is wisdom.
I mediate between them. Bless my mind. I meditate. I'll be like, no, because it's quite important. And that is what they call wisdom. As women, You don't sit down like they hurt me, they do this. No, I mean, what does it take you? To be honest with you, honestly, this life is not as difficult as many people take it. It doesn't cost you anything, even if they hurt you and you say, I mean, if they are probably older. So it could be your mom. What will you do? Are you gonna kill your mom because she hurt you? Maybe
Exactly.
your aunt, your family. So it's quite important that women understand that if that happens and they side you, find a way to kind of be the one to mediate or find a way, find your favor in that people's side. Because don't let
Always
them
be a
feel like,
bridge. Always be a bridge builder and not someone who tears the family apart. When you enter into a new family, don't be the reason all the siblings start fighting. Be like a
absolutely.
binding agent in that family. Be the reason why the siblings are even getting along. The mother-in-law is getting along with your. I was trying to explain it to her. She kept saying, no, 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 no. We've cut them up. We're not going to revisit that issue. And I said, it's not because of your husband. If he's made this decision, he will stick with it, he will move on. But 10 years on, it may be the reason why your relationship stops working because he's regretting this huge sacrifice that he's made. So go back there. Yes, it's done the manly, the right thing to do, but your own place is to go back there and build a bridge to these people. And I eventually started seeing that her sister-in-law was popping up on her Facebook. So I know that she did it. So I'm sure she sat down and had a rethink about it and then did what she needed to do.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. I want to ask you one more question before I can't see anyone. If you're joining us, if you have questions, please drop it in the comments. I know so that we can read it and let StreamYard allow StreamYard permission so that we can read it. Otherwise, we will have to read it later. And if for some reason you don't, because I know this kind of issues could be very sensitive, you could just drop the question to me later. I will drop it there with the answer later after the end of the show. But I just want to ask you this question because sometimes when people have issues and things like this, sometimes it depends on the individual. It's quite important to communicate, to talk, to find the timing right, to look at the person and everything. But what if it doesn't work? Is it okay to speak to a third party, to speak to somebody like your pastor? Or is pastor always the best person to speak to, even though they don't have psychology, they don't have knowledge about this? What's the best thing to do? How do we go about this in resolving conflicts in relationships?
Absolutely. You should get help if both of you can't seem to agree. You've talked about it, you've discussed it extensively, or your partner won't discuss. Your partner avoids the issue. Once you start off that discussion, your partner is going to shut it down. Then you're not going to reach an agreement. And we've said it's a serious matter. It matters to you, it matters to him. Then you should find maybe his accountability person to talk to him. Some people, if you elope with your husband and you don't know his parents, you don't know the uncle that he respects, they say every single person, don't marry someone who doesn't have an accountability person, someone that once is held on to the wrong end of the stick, we can't collect it from him. We can't convince him otherwise. But once this person says, no, 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 this is not right, he will just leave it alone because he really values that person's opinion, really weighs with him. Then you should get that person's help, get that person to speak to him, get that person to discuss with him. We once had a couple that were renting from my parents, and one evening commotion broke out in their home. And my dad wore his shoes and went downstairs to go and check on them and found the guy's mom and the guy himself beating the wife. So the two of them were really, really giving this lady a good beating, like you would beat a child, like you would beat maybe a 10-year-old child who has done something wrong. So my dad took the lady with him, brought the lady upstairs. I remember she spent the night in my parents' home that night. We gave her dinner, we settled her down to sleep. Then they invited the man and spoke to him at length and said, whatever has happened, you can't raise your hand on a woman. Maybe no one has taught you. They talked about one boy that a girl slapped him and he raised his hand like this and said, "Oh no, what a shame. You're a girl, you're a girl. Oh, I wish I could do it back, but I just can't because I can't raise my hand on a girl." So apparently he had been conditioned to think you just can't hit a woman. He was 10 years old, but he was fully settled into that idea. So he was paining him that he couldn't retaliate. So, but there was this full-grown man who thought he could beat his wife. There are places in Africa, like some parts of East Africa, that they feel that you should beat your wife like you beat your children. So he was beating his wife. And when my dad spoke to him, he said, "Well, my mom said something and she answered her back." And when he said what the conversation was about, she hadn't even been rude. It was like the woman saying, "Can you make food for me now?" And she said, "Okay, ma, please give me 15 minutes. I'm just going to finish." She said exactly what she was doing. Not that she ignored her, not that she didn't answer, not that she said she would not make the food. She said, "This is what I'm doing now." She explained why it was important that she didn't leave it alone and said, "Give me 15 minutes. I will start a meal off for you." And the woman started beating her. And the man came in and said, because she answered my mom back, joined in the beating. So my dad had to teach, you can't beat a woman and you can't encourage your family to run your wife over. Your home is your wife's haven. No one should ever attack that woman in her own home. That's not right. You know, so all of that conditioning, trying to teach that lesson and all of these things. So yes, you should involve people. If it's not working, the two of you are tried between each other and it's not working, then you can invite people to help, people to mediate, his accountability person, his pastor, your a counselor, a therapist. You know, we want the relationship to work. If it's a relationship that matters, there's certain people that at the end of the day, when you look at the relationship, it's not even worth it. The person is too much trouble. It's fights after fight after fight after fight. You ask yourself, why am I doing this friendship in the first place? You probably should just move on and not fight to keep it. But there's some relationships that they've really supported you in the past. They've been a wall for you. They've been a fence for you. And then you have a small challenge. You're not going to move on and say it doesn't matter. So in those situations, because this is a relationship that really has value, you're going to get help. You're going to speak to someone whose opinions they value, or a neutral person. Sometimes a neutral person is what you need. In a marriage, many times, what you need is maybe a counselor or a therapist, a neutral person. Because sometimes they are talking to your pastor, the wife will say, "Oh, the pastor," when we talk to the pastor always sounds like my husband is their son-in-law and I am their daughter-in-law. Even though we attend the same church, because he was there and I came and joined him, they seem to feel some sense of affiliation to the husband. So in every issue, as you are talking to them, they seem to always side. When he's done something that's obviously wrong, they seem to always side with him. And they come across as if they think maybe this is our son-in-law and this is our son in the Lord and his wife is our daughter-in-law. You don't feel like you have a direct relationship with them. Sometimes it's because the pastor has too much patriarchy. Is completely sold into that view of the traditional rules. He feels that you should never challenge your husband. Why would you even raise this issue? What if he doesn't want to help in the house? And so what? Why does he have to help in the house? He's the man of the house. Have I ever helped in the house before?
Thank you so much for bringing this. Thank you so much. It's really important. And this is it, because I have watched a video where I saw a pastor, this is online, and like, this pastor, honestly. And sadly, the woman was blamed about the issue. And you're quite right. There are so many patriarchy. So I suppose what you're saying is, before you go to somebody, know that this is a trusted person. It doesn't have to be you've already said it. It doesn't have to be your pastor. It could be a
It could even be a younger person, but just a wiser person, someone who has advantage in knowledge in that area. Oh, you're frozen again, and I can't hear you now. Okay. It's 9 o'clock. Okay, I can no longer hear you. I'm just going to sign off. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a wonderful session. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. Best wishes. Best wishes. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Fifi.
Anyway, I'm not sure what happened, but we have actually finished because we're finishing at 9 and it is 9 o'clock. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I'm sorry about my internet. Not sure why it's so bad tonight, but I appreciate all those who joined in. And if you have questions, ask them later. We will respond to your questions. And thank you so much to my guests for all this very insightful information she's given us tonight. Thank you so much for all your words of wisdom. And yeah, hopefully we will have you some other time for other topics, or maybe we might go health next time because I guess it's a medical doctor, so we might go health. If you have any topics that you'd like us to address next time, please go ahead and share on the comments, and we will take them on our next month's series. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Until another time, bye bye.